You know what I would have done?
To the dungeons.
What the king would have just done. Mm-hmm. That's what I would have done.
Didn't I tell you? Because I told you.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. I choked a little bit on the water.
R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, starting with the Game of Thrones. As always, I'm your co-host, Zach, and sitting here fucking up this intro is my other co-host, Nate.
That was my intro.
Not anymore.
I choked a little bit on
the
water.
You did.
That was awful.
That was fantastic.
Oh, well.
If you've joined us before, thank you for listening. If you're new, we are full spoiler. We will ruin everything for you from this point on. Okay. Last episode, almost said last week. Shit.
That was close.
Last
we
episode,
read Bran 7.
Yeah, Bran had some weird dreams, went down to the crypt.
Rickon had some weird dreams, met up in the crypt.
Rickon liked the crypt, Bran did not, neither did Lewin after getting fucked up by Shaggy Dog.
And Zach came up with the most splendid of theories.
Which is Rickon is just a badass.
Badass bitch.
And he knows how to zigzag in the books.
Nate made Zach sound like a psycho by
editing out some bullshit, but that was in the Arya episode.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever then.
Yeah.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure, motherfucker.
Right. Whatever.
Yeah, when Ned Stark was getting decapitated, Nate decided to pull out his reference between old bitch Pycelle and the High Septon and make Zach sound like he was just bitching and calling him out over nothing.
Hey, man. Learn to edit.
Yeah, learn to hit record, I guess. Shit. Anyway. Whatever. So, yeah, this week we are joining Sansa.
For the very last time in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and so last we had her father.
We're good. It's okay.
Okay. The computer did a scary thing.
Yeah, man. We had an episode last. That was the Bran episode, and there was a little bit of skip. My computer's having a little bit of trouble keeping up these days. We're working on. If we get a couple more Patreon subscribers, then we would be able to sooner have some better tech. But in the meantime, real life is real life. So we're making do.
And so Sansa had begged mercy for her father at the feet of Joffrey, and essentially she had also written some letters back home begging people to bend the knee. She's just having
so it's been a while since
rough little toe time with everything. So now her father's dead.
And because everybody's received those letters. We've had multiple chapters since those times.
Yeah, now it's death letters are going out.
And now we're getting her again. And death letters have been received. And shit,
they've gone out. They've made it to Winterfell, so it's a couple weeks at this point.
Yeah, there's been a bit of time gone on. And
we open up in the tower at the heart of Maegor's Holdfast, and Sansa had given herself to the darkness, drawing the shutters closed, drawing the curtains around her bed. And
basically what that means is she's grieving.
She went into a very depressive state. She's sleeping and waking and weeping and sleeping again in this, if I stay asleep, I'm kind of numb to, and it's absolutely, her meals went untouched until they grew gross and they had to be taken away. So she's depressed heavily. And what little she did dream, she saw father.
Yeah.
So what little she did dream is interesting to me. Do you think that's to do with Lady?
So a few things here, because she did say when she slept, sometimes it was heavily, but then she would wake even more tired. But that was the best, because when she did dream, it was of shit she didn't like.
Yeah. What little she did dream, because every other Stark is, they're fucking crazy dreaming.
I definitely think that we've even mentioned and broached on that topic briefly in other chapters where her connection to that green site
seems to be
very,
waning.
Very limited. Especially, A, she's cut off. She's in King's Landing, of all places. B, her werewolf. I was thinking werewood and direwolf. Her direwolf is gone, obviously. Or whatever the fuck that dog's name is. We just said it.
Jesus,
I'm tired.
dude.
It's been a long day. It's not been a long day at all.
It hasn't.
It's a lazy Sunday.
It's a lazy Sunday.
So I'm just not focused. Anyway,
I just thought it had to do with Lady.
I think
the
it
fact
could be.
that she's not dreaming a lot, and what she does is stuff she's already seen.
I think it's a big factor, but I also do think it's because Sansa's a bit more grounded than the other children in the she's even less likely to believe in any kind of the mysticism. Bran's got the three-eyed crow. Arya eventually hits the faceless men. John's up there fighting.
I guess her mysticism and magic is different.
Yeah,
it's the glamorous nights and the balls and
right. So she's kind of cut herself off from that a bit. On top of the fact that that direct tie, the dire wolf, is gone as well. So yeah, I think it does have that.
But yeah, she goes on thinking that waking or sleeping, she saw him. The gold cloaks throwing him down, Sir Ilyn unsheathing ice, and the moment when Sir Ilyn took his head. She had wanted to look away. She had fallen to her knees, and yet she could not turn her face. Fuck.
Yeah.
She watched it.
I get.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's that tragic, horrifying incident.
I wanted to highlight that heavily because Arya did not see it.
No.
Now, as much credit as everybody, and deservedly so, we give to Arya for the badass she was, Sansa watched this every single second of it. And grew to be, will eventually do the fucking crazy shit she does. But, like, that's brutal.
Her prince had smiled at her, and she'd felt safe until he said those words. And the way her father's legs jerked when Sir Ilyn won the sword. So yeah, she saw it. She saw her father spasming from his head. Like, she watched it. She couldn't turn away. She was so transfixed in horror. And yeah, I think that gets overlooked a lot. Like, she's 13, 14. Like,
yeah, and her father,
this is brutal.
With her like, she was expecting him to be allowed to go to the wall and live,
least,
and do that, and that things were gonna, that was what she was convinced of. And then he turns and smiles, and she gets that comfort, like, it is, we're good, we're okay. And then now her father's sword is she's watching it take off his head, watching his legs jerk about
while
because
she's
of
helpless to do anything.
And she can't, even if she could do anything, even if she wasn't helpless, there's nothing at that point that she could potentially have done.
Well, that's what I mean, is there's nothing that can be done for it.
And so, yeah, she just collapses but still watches. So it gets to her. And so Martin gets real dark here. And I don't know if I've overlooked it in the past or just, tried to shoot past it, but she's thought about throwing herself out of the fucking window.
Perhaps I will die too, she told herself, and the thought did not seem so terrible to her. Yeah, she's contemplating suicide. She could fling herself from the tower to end her suffering. The singers would write songs of her grief, and her body would lie on the stones, broken and innocent, shaming all those who betrayed her. So, I mean, tragic, yeah, but I also wanted connection to Ashardane.
Yeah, that's
flinging yourself from the tower in grief.
Well, because she says then she'll be remembered in the songs forever. And I was also thinking of, is it Elaine, the one who cries, has the tears, the waterfall in the Eyrie?
Alyssa? Alyssa's tears, yeah.
I thought about her as well.
That she's got to cry for all eternity in her grief, yeah.
And so I thought that was something too, but yeah, Ashardane.
No, that's a cool tie to the Eyrie, considering she will be going there.
Right.
Yeah, so that's
which that might be brought up actually.
It's just it's fucking brutal, man. She's even gone so far as to throw open her shutters, but then her courage leaves her and she runs sobbing back to her bed. Like,
which is
actively making the attempt, and that's a common thing to make it multiple times.
So I think it's very. That's because of how she's so young, the narrator's point of view here, that she didn't lose the courage to kill herself. She just realized that she might potentially have something to live for, but that's not the only time she's thinking about it or going to try.
Yeah, no.
And so, yeah, like, this poor, and not to ever justify suicide, but if ever there was a time,
she's stronger than me. I would have done it.
I don't blame that poor
I think
girl.
I would have done it.
Jesus Christ.
I was gonna get to that point on the end, but yeah. So we learned that old bitch Pycelle had come to see her, asking if she was ill since she wasn't eating.
Yeah, and then the serving girls were being ignored anytime they tried to converse with.
He made her undressed and touched her all over while her bedmaid held her down.
Now, I think that's written to obviously intentionally make us as the reader feel uncomfortable. I don't necessarily think that he was doing the weird shit that you may expect
I don't think it was
Pycelle
sexual.
to do.
I took it in the
She
context
didn't want
of
him to touch
this
her.
grieving girl was just forcibly held down while this old man poked and prodded at her naked body. Like, it's just adding more trauma to this
and
fucking...
he's supposed to be the doctor.
And
the
he's
helper,
the doctor,
the
healer, the one she should trust. But it's just forcibly holding her down.
She didn't want him to check on her.
Yeah.
And so then, he mixes up some herbs and shit into a little vial and tells her to take a little swallow.
A potion of honey water, yeah.
To take a swallow each night, and, that'll be able to help her a little bit. And so she downs the fucking thing.
Yep.
She doesn't care. No,
suicide attempt number 2.
This is it, yeah.
Put me in eternal sleep. She goes right to sleep, hoping probably not to wake up.
She says she drank it all and went right to sleep. Mm-hmm. Drank it all right then. If this was
milk of the poppy,
anything just a little more potent, done.
Yeah.
That's overdose.
Yeah.
You're fucking shot. Like,
You're fucking shot, yeah. She dreamt of Sir Ilyn coming for her with ice. And while she cowered naked, she woke muttering...
Now, is that the one where he's waiting at the door on the other side?
Yeah, he's scraping up to the door.
Is it Sir Ilyn?
Like, she believes so.
I know that, but because we hear the sounds, we hear the. I don't know that it's necessarily because I don't. While she is cut off, we mentioned the green site earlier. She is cut off. I don't think she's.
So it's funny you mention that because I had a weird thought when I was reading that maybe. Because her nakedness is what did it. Because I know she's mentioned that it feels like Sir Ilyn can just look through her.
Right.
But for some reason, I thought of like the rasping, like dragging footfalls and everything. I almost imagined the Hound outside the door. Well, because it
said leather on stone, scraping through, and then it just says the tip of the great sword starts peeking through
the door. Yeah.
And so is it like I know that's what, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. Again, Martin loves his fucking dreams and fucking with us, but I don't know that it's necessarily. And I kind of considered the Hound also, but I was wondering if maybe it's not a, ice itself is going to be causing torment. That's the only part she saw by getting split and fucking but I don't know if it's necessary. Maybe it's Joffrey that was actually outside there because does Sir Ilyn walks? I suppose he walks a little quieter. I think the Hound has big, heavy footfalls though. So, but either way,
So she had awoken that next time, muttering that I'll be good, but there was no one there to hear. And so when finally they did come for her, it was Joffrey, not Sir Ilyn, who opened her door. The boy who had been her prince, and she was curled up in bed with her curtains drawn, but the bed hangings were ripped open, letting the sunlight hit her in the face. And he says, "You'll attend me in court this afternoon. Dress and bathe as befits my betrothed." And she begs him, "No, please." And he says, "If you won't rise and dress yourself, my Hound will do it for you." And she begins to beg him, "Please, my prince, please, just let me stay." And he says, "I'm king now. Dog, get her out of bed." And Sandor Clegane steps up and scoops her up easily. And he tells her, "Do as you're bid, child." And he gently pushes her toward... Well, he pushes her toward the wardrobe, but it says almost gently.
Yeah. So and that's... We're going to see throughout this chapter, which we've noticed even when he was fucking shitty, swifty, shit-faced in the tourney chapter with Sansa. He still has this gentleness towards her, even if he does get a little rough when he like grabs her by the shoulders and kind of shakes some sense into her. But yeah, he always seems to be extra gentle with her and delicate with her.
He never, and I never, with him from this point on, get the feel of like Meryn Trant, where he'll just walk up and start assaulting her.
Man, after reading this chapter, which I've never like scumbag through and through, but like I have some weird thoughts about Meryn Trant this
Sansa
time.
notices some interesting stuff.
So Sansa begs Joffrey
she starts
to go home.
off
I'm not the traitor. I swear I'm not a traitor. I just want to go home. Please. And he says, "Well, as long as you're my betrothed, you will stay here with me.
And obey.
Forever."
And Sansa says to him, "I don't want to marry you. You chopped off my father's head." Which, damn, girl.
Damn.
And Joffrey says, "He was a traitor. I never promised to spare him, only mercy. I gave him a clean death. Be thankful he was yours, given him that."
Yeah, he might have been flayed or
So,
tortured.
yeah, he's saying this to the girl who had to watch her father. You know, at least I gave him a clean, quick death.
Yeah, I put that in my notes. I put way through this. He loopholed it. Like, he never lied to her. Yes, I will show your father mercy because you begged for it.
To me, that screams his mother. That screams Cersei.
Yeah,
you know, that's Cersei. I'm going to get what I want.
But I think that screams him and directly learning from her. I feel like that's obviously 100% his decision.
Oh, yeah.
That's the taught behavior from her of how to gain this loophole fucking shit.
And it's seeing him for the first how she could ever think him handsome. Red as worms you find after a rain, his eyes vain and cruel. I hate you, she whispers.
Dang!
Yeah.
Get him!
I mean, she saw him for the first time. Like, she's opening her eyes.
This description here of Joffrey immediately made me think of Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like those gross, wormy lips.
The wormy lips, the vein, cold eye. Like, and it didn't even say cold. He doesn't have the same color eyes because Ramsay's got the gray, weird fucking
the gray
Bolton
slate,
eyes.
Yeah.
But that wormy look, and I just love how finally, to an extent, because she's not there yet. Obviously, we'll see with Cersei, but that she's seeing this wormy little fucking cunt.
I like that she says his eyes were vain because it's not gallantry anymore. It's not this handsome. It's vain. Like, he's an arrogant little cunt. And it says King Joffrey's face hardened. Mother tells me it isn't fitting for a king to strike his wife. Sir Meryn?
Trant walks up and just fucking blasts her across the face.
Knight was on her before she could think, backhanding her across the ear with a white-gloved fist. She doesn't.
One more word and I'll give you a clout on the ear.
Sansa doesn't recall falling, yet she did, sitting among the rushes, her head ringing, her ear bleeding. Will you obey now, or shall I have him chastise you again? And she basically says, as you command, my lord. And he says, Your Grace, I shall look for you in court. And he turns and leaves with
Trant and the other guard that was with
Meryn and Ares Oakheart.
Right, Ares Oakheart. Fuck, Ares Oakheart.
And Sandor Clegane, the Hound, lingered.
Stays behind for a minute, yeah, and he tells her, save yourself some pain, girl, and just give him what he wants.
What does he want? Please, tell me.
And God damn it if it isn't true. He wants you to love him and hate him. Or fear him. But yeah, he wants you to smile,
and smell sweet, and be his lady love. He wants to hear you recite all your pretty words the Septas taught you. He wants you to love him and fear him. Like, that's it. That's Joffrey. He wants what he wants. He wants you to love him the way he wants to be loved.
He wants you to love him when he wants you to love him, and he wants you to fear him when he wants to be feared.
At all other points.
When he's ready to be feared, which is always.
And so after that, he laughing at the wall, just kind of.
She gets this Catelyn Stark about her right here to me. This steely,
pensive.
like. She calls her handmaidens in, and she commands them to prepare her a bath, get her dressed, get everything
powder
ready.
To hide the bruise.
Like, and she
Joffrey
just goes.
Will want her pretty.
She's 13, 14, and she's going straight into this abused. Like, you see it in the domestic relationships. Yeah. Like, after
covering it up.
Once the shock of getting beat, and he's left back to the fucking bar. These women that get fucking brutalized, or then no, now I have to get the cover up.
Yeah, he'll
make
want
everything
me pretty.
up,
He won't.
And that way I'll start dinner. Get that ready. She doesn't have to do that, so she's a lady, but she gets herself all cleaned up, bathed, but and I love that it says this, she refused to say anything else to those the serving girls because they were still Lannister servants.
Yeah.
Not her own.
She didn't trust them.
She does not trust them.
The hot water of her bath had reminded her of Winterfell. And I think gives her strength.
Yeah.
She takes strength from that.
Yeah, it says that she seems to take some strength in that.
And she chose the green gown that she had worn the night of the tourney, because that night Joffrey had been so kind to her, and maybe it would remind him of his gallantry and not his cruelty.
I want to say that's partial, that naivety, but I think she also is fully aware it's not.
I think it's important because I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's more of a Sansa thing where it's showing us how much significance she's putting in these garbs, these wardrobes, where the whole cloak thing later, she dyes it green. The Hound's cloak supposedly gets dyed green. So I think that she's got this green gown that she reminds her of this night, which the Hound was also a part of.
A very big
part
of.
Where she's trying
and
to
so it's this vision
recapture
of gallantry.
that night with this green gown and hope Joffrey.
Yeah, and
so she puts a lot of emphasis into the color and the clothing she wears.
Especially this green. And
so I think that's a hint at the cloak later, the Sansa and the Hound cloak. And so, yeah. The hot water reminded her Winterfell, so it was midday when Meryn returned for her. He bowed to her as if he had not beaten her bloody 3 hours past.
My lady, His Grace has instructed me to escort you to the throne room.
And fucking Z-snap.
Dude, did he also instruct you to hit me if I refuse? But then this motherfucker...
Are you refusing, my lady?
And he doesn't really say, like, I know the show does, like, the actor that plays the character in the show does a good job of playing a cunt. I think that this guy is even less cunty and more creepy, where it's scary. There's less care. It's, are you refusing?
He asks her this expressionless, and Sansa realizes that he didn't love her or hate her. He felt absolutely nothing for her at all. And
that's, because she
was only a thing to him.
She tells him she'll do whatever His Grace commands. And then he replies with, as I do. And I think that's it, though. He's grown so far. He knows that if he doesn't listen to the king, he will die. He will be the next one executed.
I think.
And there's this arrogance about him that he's above that. He can live, and so who are you? What are you?
I think he's an interesting foil to the Hound.
Yeah.
I think he's essentially what the Hound could become.
If the Hound was soulless, if he was Sam Winchester
if the Hound continued... Sam Winchester. I think if the Hound continued doing this for another 10 years, that's what he would be.
Yeah.
Eventually, he'd be so numb to Joffrey's shit.
Where he would just
backhanding the shit out of these kids.
Yeah.
And it's... Because she realizes that she was only a thing to him, and that Sansa is filled with rage. She wants to rage at him, hurt him. But she thinks to what the Hound says and saying her little line. So she says, I'll do as His Grace commands. And that's when he says, as do I. And the Hound being brought up right before that line to me was like, oh shit, like... I feel like this is what the Hound could end up being, is this cold, dead night. And
then she follows it up with,
another Z-snap.
But you are no true knight, Sir Meryn. Like, straight to his fucking face. Like, get some.
And once again, we get, the Hound would have laughed at that, Sansa knew. But Sir Meryn didn't laugh.
Now,
he didn't care at all.
I don't think that there's a more important line in this chapter to show the relationship that they have and will grow into having. That, how many times have we heard the Hound laugh in this whole book?
Only in Sansa chapters.
And it's almost always been because of her.
Yeah.
And her little quips.
His barking laugh.
She knows that, like,
she knows how to make him laugh with her reciting the stupid things that she says. And her knightly...
Comparing the gallantry to the world. You're not a true knight, though. Like, you're just a fucking...
And she knows that the Hound would laugh at that because no one's a true fucking knight.
It's completely true that he's the just antithesis of a knight.
And she's sort of forgetting her courtesies. That's not what... So, like, the Hound would fucking, of course, be like, ha! Like, this little bird who recites these lines
comes out with
called your shit, man.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, no, that's super important for their relationship. And she thinks about it. Like, this would have made the Hound laugh.
Yeah.
Like, that's just such a random thought.
And it's especially funny because of how horrified she was of him in the beginning of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And now here she is, and she kind of misses. She wishes it was him.
The Hound escorting her.
That came to get her.
Yeah. And so, we get kind of flash forward to the balcony was empty, save for Sansa. And she was holding back tears as she watched below as Joffrey sat on his iron throne, dispensing what it pleased him to call.
Today there's been a bunch of councils, and
most of them seemed to bore him.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 he had nothing to do with. He would just let them be handled by his council. Littlefinger, Varys, his mother,
But when he did make a ruling, even the Queen Mother couldn't sway him.
And so the first thing that he made a ruling on was a thief who had been stealing some shit.
Yep.
He had Sir Ilyn chop his hands off right then and there.
Done.
Boom. Who's going to clean that up?
Who cares?
Just some servants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 knights came in a dispute about land and were ordered to fight to the death for it.
No. So, hear me out. That one's kind of funny. Listen, if you guys been trying to work your shit out, you can't work your shit out. All right, well, like, why? I'm just going to be flipping a coin anyway, so let's make it fun. Fucking Rock'em Sock'em Robots to the death, go. Yeah, but, like,
it didn't need to be to the death. It could
no,
have
just been
a duel.
But, like, that just goes to show the extreme. He's bored, so he's going to make these two...
Yeah, it's the Roman Coliseum,
and neither of those fuckers know how to fight.
No,
they're farmers.
Just farmers,
They're going to come in there with fucking pickaxes and fucking... forks and
so
shit.
a woman came up begging for the head of a traitor, a man executed as a traitor, so that he could be interred properly.
And again, not to side with the sadist here.
If you loved a traitor, you must be a traitor too. So she was dragged off to the dungeons.
So this is my... Now, again, I'm not
justifying... No, fuck you. Imagine this woman's day, where she wakes up and she's like, oh man, my husband was executed as a traitor. You know what? It's been like 3 weeks. His head's been on the spike. I'm gonna go ask the king to get his head off the spike.
Why would you think it would be a good idea to get there? No,
because
he's up on the spike.
Because the small folk aren't playing the Game of Thrones. No. They don't know that Joffrey's a little sadist.
But they should know, hey, my husband's head's on the spike as a punishment. Do they normally get to retrieve the heads? Like, is that how it works with criminals and system? Like, why would you go asking, knowing that he was a... Whatever. No, Joffrey's a piece of shit. He's definitely a piece of shit. I'm not disputing that at all.
Sansa sees Janos Slynt sitting at the table, wishing she could hurt him, that some hero would throw him down and cut off his head. But a voice in her head whispers, there are no heroes.
So it must have slipped my mind again for some reason that maybe it was because I was so focused on how I was going to get old bitch Pycelle's mention out of that part of the episode, but that Janos Slynt was the one that threw Ned down onto the chopping block, and she did not forget that one little bit. And so because he's sitting there being the little pretentious cunt, just nodding along
with all of Joffrey's
great fucking. That's what I would have done
to the dungeons.
What the king would have just done. Mm-hmm. That's what I would have done.
Didn't I tell you? Because I told you.
And you shouldn't have, because here he is, and that's what I said.
Yeah, no, and Sansa sees right through it,
and she's fucking brutal with him. She just wants him dead. Like, this poor, because every chance that she gets, all we hear already, and it's gonna keep getting worse and worse. I think I remember, but she's already just, I want to hurt him. I don't know. I'm having trouble I just want to fucking go all Wolverine on their face, like in like a little crazy critter, not like the fucking X-Man, because that's crazy.
That's crazy. But yeah, there are no heroes, and she remembers what Baelish told her in this very hall. Life is not a song, sweetling. You may learn that one day to your sorrow. And she thinks, in life, the monsters win.
Then she also hears the Sandor Clegane again right there. Because he does say, you'll learn that one day to your sorrow. And she hears the save yourself some pain, girl, give him what he wants. And then it kind of cuts into the last court case of the day.
Yeah. Which
is a singer who probably came out with a great tale because it's spread through the city like wildfire.
A song about Robert getting fucked up by the boar, but the boar also sounds like it could be Cersei.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, I would think.
I think it sounds pretty funny.
But yeah, he ends up, his fingers or his tongue?
Well, he decides to be merciful, and so he gives him one day to choose whether he would like to keep his fingers or your tongue. Good day.
Yeah. So, with court concluded, Sansa flees the balcony, only to find Joffrey waiting for her with the Hound and Sir Meryn. You look much better than you did.
God, this fucker.
Thank you, Your Grace, she says. Hollow words, but they made him nod and smile. Walk with me, and he offers his arm. She took it, her flesh crawling at the contact.
When he walked up and looked her up and down, and looked, the first thing I thought about, and I think it's a very interesting juxtaposition, is in our very, very first Dany chapter of this book, Viserys did the exact same thing to Dany.
Yeah.
100%. Looked her up and down, says, this'll pass, you'll do for now. And now here we are at the end of what we think was going to be the book in Sansa's journey. She's now hitting that spot where Dany was at the start of it. And so it's kind of interesting now that the second book's going to start that Sansa's starting that book where Dany started this one. Dany's already had these other things.
Actually, that's a really good point, especially considering next chapter with Dany's fever dreams.
Right,
they kind of do some reverting back to where she was
King's
at the start of the book.
And the Viserys stuff.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And yeah, so he offers her his arm, and she takes it with her flesh crawling at the contact, and that's just such a juxtaposition from the front of the beginning of the book, too.
Where she just got filled with excitement. Her
stomach would be butterflies at his touch. And
it's neat to think that, like, technically speaking, it could have been she got that creepy, crawly feeling. She just was so infatuated with the fact that it was a prince.
Yeah, she had the rose-colored goggles on. Yeah. And so he oddly begins bringing up that his name day is coming up and asks her, what are you getting me for my name day?
And she goes, I don't know, my lord.
I had not thought, my lord. Your grace, he said. You truly are a stupid girl, aren't you? My mother says so.
And this breaks little Sansa's fucking heart. Because this is where I said, like, yeah, she finally gets to see
Joffrey.
Even after this, she doesn't quite see her. She idolized the queen. Wanted nothing more than to be her little fucking perfect fucking daughter. And to find out that Cersei thinks so little, stupid little dumb girl Sansa, like, crushes her, devastates her, and it's like, oh, you poor fucking...
Yeah, Sansa thinks that even after all that occurred, these words shouldn't affect her, but they do. The queen had always been kind to her. And Joffrey answers, oh yes, she worries for our children, whether they'll be stupid like you. I'll get you with child once you're able, and if the first one is stupid, I'll chop your head off and find a smarter wife. When do you think you'll be able to have children?
So...
Like, this 14-year-old kid just said that to her.
Yeah, well, because during this, she thinks that... Because she says, yes, my lord, and she's like, holy fuck, the Hound is right. Like, everything that I've been saying and telling him is, like, all because of what I was just taught. Like, I'm not... And so she just tells him what Septim Ordained told him about flowering, and, but she...
At 12 or 13.
It said that, Sansa could not look at him. He shamed her so.
Yeah.
Like... And I don't think, on top of the fact that he's directly inquiring about flowering and periods and stuff like that, the fact that he's calling her so stupid and saying, if we have a stupid kid, I'm fucking killing you.
Yeah.
And how soon before we can find out if you're going to have a stupid kid? That's how long it's going to take. Of course this poor girl's so shamed. Like, she's so fucking... Fuck, like, that's of all like I can't even pretend to imagine what it's like to go through that kind of thing. Now to have this guy saying, you're gonna have my kid, when are you gonna be ready? Shut the fuck up, bitch, and do it. Like, it's
and
just,
God help you if it's stupid.
That kind of trauma, like the fucking PTSD that she's gonna have forever is gonna be, I feel like, apparent in the future chapters. But Jesus.
Yeah, so Joffrey nods at that answer and leads her to the base of the steps leading up to the battlement, and Sansa jerks away, trembling. She knew where they were going, and please don't make me. And Joffrey says, I want to show you what happens to traitors.
It says he pressed his lips together, and I think that's very apparent when Zach started pressing his lips together. Is pretty good. I think that is supposed to be highlighted because of what Sansa said earlier, thinking of those two worms mushing together and, like, him pressing them. Like, it's just this gross picture to her now.
Yeah, so Sansa shakes her head and says, I won't. And
wildly, it says. Like, she's like, fucking, no, mm-mm.
So Meryn can drag you up. You won't like it. You had better do what I say. And Joffrey reaches for her.
Which she recoils back into the Hound. Thank God, of all people.
Do it, girl.
He gives her a little shove, too, and she could almost hear the rest of it. He'll have you up there no matter what, so give him what he wants.
Yeah.
And, like, he didn't say that. But she just knew
they're
that's...
already finishing each other's sentences. No, yeah, and I think that's truthful. Like, that's probably what the Hound would say. He's gonna get you the fuck up there, so do it without a beating, at least.
Yeah, just do it.
And so she forced herself to take Joffrey's hand.
This again is that I feel
strength,
like
that Catelyn shutting it off. Yeah,
she just really fucking.
And so they ascend, and from the battlements, the world spread out below them. But she only cares about looking north.
Yeah, the climb was something of nightmares. It said as she was making her way up the stairs.
Each step was hard to take.
Just how brutal it was. But yeah, she she scanned over the city briefly, and then she started peering out to the north, which is still the city. But
knowing that beyond the city, in the open country, in the farms, and beyond that Winterfell stood.
And I'm really liking this a lot because it just does show that she's got home at heart. Like, on top of, in the bath before she used it. And the first thing she's using, especially... We find out she did see the heads in her father's head, because that's why he brought her up here, just to show her the head, her father's head. She saw them when she came out. She's using home in the north to steel herself, and Joffrey realizes she's looking at north.
I like this line. Like,
and he's
what are you looking at? This is what I wanted you to see right here. Like, he don't be distracted. Like,
this was very
fucked up by
Viserys
what
to
I
me.
did in trying to show you.
I think that they're very much highlighting, and I don't know if George intentionally puts the Dany chapter after this Sansa chapter, but I really see these major comparisons to Sansa and Joffrey and Dany and Viserys in the beginning of this book. And just... Did I say that correct?
No. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, just look at what I want you to. And even when they were going into Vaesta Thrak, she was looking at all the monuments, and he was going on and carrying on about his shit. No, don't look at that stuff. Look at what I want.
That's it. It's like he's being a petulant child. Like, you're not looking at what I want to show you, but what I want to show you is to torture. It's your dad's. Like, you're not doing what I want, even though it's to cause you pain.
And we'll see that again even more now that you mention it that way, because when she finally does walk over and see...
Well, she says that the heads were mounted between the crenels of the battlements, impaled on iron spikes looking out over the city. And she thinks, he can make me look at the heads, but he can't make me see them.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting for Arya, who down at the docks just had the case of seeing truly. And,
right.
Seeing the men for what they are, and how Sansa's doing it the
opposite way.
Where she's shutting it off.
Yeah.
Just look north to Winterfell and know that Winterfell is there.
Look past
Nothing
what you don't need
is
to see.
right here in front of me.
It also ties her, I think, to Bran. You don't need this now.
Yeah.
Put that away. And so she looks at the head, but...
this one is your father. Dog, turn it so she can see.
And the Hound grabs him by the hair and just fucking yanks that head around for her.
It's been dipped in tar to preserve it, and Sansa looked without seeing. And it doesn't look like her father. It doesn't even look real.
So I know it might sound... pretentious there from her, or almost I'm just saying this to being tarred and dipped and then sitting up there, it would not look like him whatsoever.
It'd be sloughed off, it'd be
it would not,
eaten at.
And the decay, and so it shouldn't, and not to downplay what she's doing well with it, because that does really
that's
help.
it. Like, with our experience and what we've seen, and then the dipping in tar, I have to believe it really wouldn't look real. Right. It would almost seem like a mummer's costumer's fake or something.
Well, that's it, because even the nowadays, with the way things go, the best dressed person and best made up person, a close family friend is still going to be like, yeah, I can see. Yeah. And they'll still put it off as a, it doesn't look bad or anything like that. But in that, no. Yeah, that. And so it shouldn't be too hard for her to close, not that she should have to, and this is terrible and traumatic.
But she's
closing it off.
It's not as callous as it sounds. It's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, and she's doing it great. I think she does.
Considering the circumstances, she can't grieve for her father's death the way she wants to.
Yeah,
she's being forced to grieve on Joffrey's terms, which is suffering through it, and so she's refusing to do that, which is insanely fucking powerful
and strong-willed.
Yeah,
so,
refusing to say
as she's staring at this, she says, "How long must I stare?"
And Joffrey seems disappointed.
Yes.
By this lack of reaction.
Because that's exactly
what it is. There's no
breaking
breaking down in tears. There's no shrieking.
It's the bully not getting that response from a kid being called a nerd.
Do you want to see the rest? And he marches her down. That's your scepter there. And Sansa had wondered to Septa Mordain. But
she says, if it please your grace.
She thought she knew. But then she says, why did you kill her? She was God-sworn. And she was a traitor. And he said, looking pouty at this point, and says,
yeah, I really liked that. Of all her little quips that she's thrown out at everybody, at Trant, and about how she hates Joffrey, that, to me, like
it was needless.
She so questions idiot. And calls him out. Why'd you kill her?
Yeah, she was serves just the gods, not Winterfell, you idiot.
Like what are you daft?
Yeah,
you dumb
she's
shit?
a septa who could have served here and still healed people. You fucking idiot. You're like, yeah, she's so condescending.
Which unfortunately kind of leads her down the path.
Yeah,
of
Joffrey gets around to maybe I'll give you something for my name day. Your brother defeated my uncle. Mother says treachery and deceit were used. She wept when she heard. Women are all weak, even though she pretends not to be.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. After my name day, I'll raise a host and kill your brother myself. And that's what I'll give you. I'll give you your brother's head. And it says madness took over her. Similar to Tyrion, who had that line.
Yeah.
And where he wanted to engage in battle and run out in Winterfell.
Now,
he wanted to shout out Casterly Rock.
So, of all people to tie that way, to have that madness take over them, those two, and for them to,
or maybe my brother will give me your head, and Joffrey doesn't like that. Never mock me like that. You must never mock me like that, Meryn. Teach her. And Meryn hits her in the face twice this time.
He grabs her by the fucking chin, like under the throat.
So she can't turn with the blow.
And just fucking smacks her once across and then backhands her a second time, even harder.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Her lips split and the blood mixed with her tears. And Joffrey tells her, you're more pretty when you smile and laugh. Wipe the blood off. You're all messy. And Sansa gets filled with rage here and notices it's a pretty long fucking drop. There's a pretty long drop to the bottom here. And all it would take is one little shove to get this cocksucker over. Even if I went over with him, it'd be fucking worth it to just watch him fucking hit the stones at the bottom.
Yeah. And and again, I got that. That's where I got the Ashara Dane image as well. Like, just throwing herself over the edge.
With him.
But this one with him.
To
with like
shame you fucking shoved me with him.
Just think how fucking pathetic that would seem of a death for Joffrey, that he was knocked off a wall.
By Sansa.
By a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Like,
there is grieving betrothed.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the Hound is between them. And in my book, between was like italicized. It was like given a little fucking emphasis. Like he knew what she was thinking.
Girl.
He stepped between them.
I think the show did a really good job. I feel like she started to move.
Yeah, in the show, I think she did.
She did in the show, but I feel like in the book, it's not said, but I feel like she instinctively was like tensing to go, and that's when the Hound was like, here, girl, before you do something
and more delicately than somebody his size would be expected to.
He dabs the blood from her lips, and when done, Sansa lowered her eyes and says, thank you, sir. Thank you, my lord.
She was a good girl. She always remembered her courtesies.
And there's her mother again.
Yeah.
And so, goddamn.
Because there was that brutal moment when Meryn Trant first slapped her, and Joffrey said, clean yourself up, you're much prettier when you smile, and when you smile, stop crying. And she smiles, and it's this bloodied, like, oh my God.
And that's when he says, clean yourself up.
Which is a haunting image, though, like, of almost like Joker insanity, like the blood smile, like
to me it's horrifying, because it's this young girl who's like
attempting to
doing
please.
The young wife thing, like of the but like she's broken,
and that's that. I think that was that
followed
last grasp.
by the madness of her wanting to jump over. Like that's where it gets almost insane.
I think that was her last grasp. There was that, because she says she wanted to smile, scared that she would get hit again by Trant if she didn't. And then it went into the madness of pushing him, and so now I think it's going to kind of develop into that restraint. She's got it caged up to keep herself from actually attempting to kill him. But that's Sansa's final chapter of this book.
Yeah, very Dany-esque beginning arc.
Yeah.
It took her a long time to get there, but and we made a lot of jokes in Bran's last chapter that we were probably going to be shitting on Sansa this episode, but not at all, man.
She's
I
way
felt
more
for her just more than anything.
I don't know that I would have made it through that scenario without fucking...
The helplessness of it. Just knowing that there's no one in this city that you can actually even confide in and talk to.
You can't even talk to
honestly.
You're just completely alone. You don't know anything, and you have no idea where Arya is. Like, and that's... I feel like as much as it's now, we shat on her earlier on. At this point, she kind of has this right and reason at the moment to not be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because she's just as fucked.
But I think she's thinking of her family as a whole.
Exactly.
And Arya is included in that. I don't think she's excluding Arya for any reason. Not.
And so, in her mind, she is utterly alone.
Yeah.
Every member of her father's house, her father, her sister, nobody is left in this city as far as she knows.
And she's 11, 12?
Whatever it is, yeah. Whether she's 11 or 14, somewhere in
she said, with the flowering that, it's 12 or 13. So I imagine she's 11 or 12. Still. Yeah. And she's being married to this fucking psycho. And the Hound is the only one showing her kindness. A dude who terrified her.
Who is known for being this savage monster of a man.
He killed one of her sister's friends. It's fucked. And so... That's it for Sansa. We'll be picking it up with her again in Clash, and oh boy.
Yeah, man. Do you have an inductee?
Yeah, I'm giving it to Sansa herself for this one.
Yeah.
Just to survive it. Just to fuck. I don't blame you for grief sleeping your way through the weeks or for downing that honey water. Fuck yeah. And fucking A, man. I just also think about, what if she did shove him, man? What if she did shove Joffrey over? If she died, it would have been better, because if she lived, Cersei would have gone ballistic.
Oh, yeah. No, she would have had to, if she was going to, in order to save herself from torture... She would have had to gone down too.
But or unless the Hound started cutting their way out.
Well, yeah, unless he was like, fuck it, you just killed the king, let's dip. Let's fucking
actually,
go.
Honestly,
she would have went all Arya and grabbed her up and fucking booked it.
Yeah, just grabbed her.
I'm taking you to the north. They'll give me a reward there.
Yeah, you just killed Joffrey, too.
Yeah, and we've got Jaime Lannister in control, in captivity. Can
you imagine?
Fuck.
Yeah, but Sansa, for that's good. Her strength, and even in not making that decision, just dealing with this shit, man, because I couldn't do it. I would have at least fucking shoved Joffrey over the fucking edge, at the very least, even if I died, because fuck all that noise. So, you got an inductee?
I think I have to give it. The only other one I could think of is the Hound, because otherwise I was gonna give it to Sansa also. But yeah, to spread it out, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Hound for being the only other. I mean, he's not by any means a good fucking dude.
Yeah.
But being the only kind of voice of reason to her and any assistance, any kind of shimmer of a fucking hope. So I'm gonna give it to the Hound for doing something to help out Sansa in some way, as little as he can.
Hell yeah.
So we did get an inductee this week from our wonderful listener Julian from France. And so he says this: God, Joffrey is a douchebag. Hi guys, I wanted to point out two things from this chapter. First, Sansa finally sees Joffrey for what he is.
Yes.
That's something. And what an horrible character he is throughout this chapter. Can't wait till he gets poisoned and dies at his birthday.
Fuck yeah.
Because we're full spoiler. So yeah, we know.
Kicked in the nuts. He doesn't, but...
We'll figuratively and metaphorically kick him in the nuts.
Yep.
So, number 2, he senses the start of the subtle relationship between Sansa and Sandor Clegane.
Yeah!
After the fear and the threats, Sansa seems to start having a different point of view on the Hound. She thinks her witty words would have made Sandor laugh.
Hell yeah.
That's something to have in mind. You'd have made, that's something to have in mind. You'd have made somebody laugh. Yeah. And that somebody means something to you in a way. You wouldn't think about making a person you do not care about laugh, don't you think? I mean, I do, but I'm an asshole. I'm going to make those fucking cunts laugh. And I don't like them. Fuck those cunts. But I'll make them laugh. But anyway,
Oh, wow. The Nate Hour.
The Nate Hour. Here we go.
All
right. Shut it. Can I finish it? Can you stop talking?
Can you finish it?
And making a person you hate laugh doesn't make sense that way either, in his honest opinion.
Yeah, you piece
All
of
right,
shit.
well, opinions aren't set in fucking stone there, Julian.
Maybe if you finish the email, you won't look like such a jackass.
Anyway, interesting. Plus, she recalls him calling her a little bird, and that made me smile because I immediately thought of their brilliant conversation in Season 8, Episode 2 at the Winterfell Dining Hall.
Yeah!
Yay, Brian Cogman, by the way.
Hell yeah.
Fucking A. That was a great scene. Weren't you just saying you were going to watch that episode pretty soon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. that second point is the main reason why I'm inducting the Hound. Is that and he asked if that was grammatically correct. That was grammatically correct. You're all set there. The Hound is a great inductee because we are the champions. Fuck you, Zach. Also for his gentleness and wise pieces of advice towards Sansa. Can't wait to hear you talk about that. Bitch Joffrey, and I assume it's going to be a lot of fun. Zach, you have his formal demand to use that high-pitched, super annoying voice for your Joff impressions. So he says that, you know, good luck bearing with that to me. He can always skip them on Spotify, but at least he admits that they're annoying and high-pitched.
Well,
so
I mean,
that's okay.
It's Joffrey.
He definitely did do them.
It's not somebody that you would want to, like, listen to, you know, fucking all day, every day.
Just like you, so you nail it.
Anyway, I mean, apparently somebody wants to listen because
he just wants you to fucking annoy me.
They don't come in for you, that's for sure.
Whatever, nobody.
Because you edit out what you say anyway. But thank you, Julian, for writing in. That was great, inductee, the Hound. Nate, took forever to get through your email. I apologize about that. Next time, I will read your write-in.
Oh,
so that way we can actually fucking understand it.
Could you do that?
But it was great. Nice. It was great. It was great.
If anybody else would like to give their inductee so that Zach can sit there and bitch about them too, or so we can just read about them and discuss, we'd love to hear from you.
This guy.
You can get us at our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, @mannerswithout. Nate's on Twitter, @mannerswithout. Zach is on @carstark92.
Okay.
All right. I don't know. I just wanted to stare off. We're also on Patreon where you can get our bonus episodes. What do we got up there right now? We got some Mercy. We got Theon.
And Victarion.
And we've recently got voted, done, taken care of. And our next Patreon sample chapter will be Barristan Selmy. Bury the ball! It's going to be fucking sweet. So if you're interested in some, you know, some theorizing and reading of sample chapters from Winds of Winter. Is this one of the ones that was just a transcript, or was that the Victarion one?
I don't recall.
Victarion,
but this one is interesting, especially right after the Victarion one, as they are relatively related in the same part of the world. Mm-hmm. So
in the same battle,
it'll be interesting to the pre-battle for
Victarion, but the pre-battle kind of.
That is Winds of Winter stuff for Patreon, and so if you are interested in that, check out our Patreon. It's not that expensive. And Patreon, as you said, you'll be helping us out getting a new computer.
Yeah, so. Just to make sure there's no glitch. And that's patreon.com/withoutmanners.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Any rate and reviews you can leave us, Apple Podcasts, anything, anywhere.
Breaker,
we appreciate it.
Cast, Google.
Otherwise, thanks for hanging out and listening to us bitch at each other because Nate can't get his shit together.
And talk about Game of Thrones, because we do manage to get our shit together on that.
Next episode, we're going to be reading Dany 9. This is not Dany's final chapter. This is Dany's second to last chapter.
Because Dany has the final chapter of the book, which is only 5 chapters away. We're coming down to it. After Dany is Tyrion's last chapter, though, and that's Tyrion 9. Is that where he's named Hand of the King?
He's going to get promoted.
Yeah, so that'll be fun times. Dany 9, she's waking up after the fucking nasty spellbinding spells.
Yeah, she's having some weird dreams, and then she's gonna find out the results of the Magi's odd dancing. And so until then, you don't want to wake the dragon, do you?
Wake the dragon.
Valor to Harris.
Peace.